always.
As promised, we are joined by 8-year NFL running back, recently retired NFL running back James White, a Super Bowl hero and legend. And by the way, he's brought to us today by DraftKings, which is amazing and very timely because DraftKings Sportsbook is launching in Massachusetts on Friday, pending licensure and receipt of regulatory approvals. Yes, I would not have been able to come up with that myself. They told me the second part of that, the licensure. I've never said licensure before in my life, James. We just broke a record on my show. I don't even know what licensure means.
I don't know what that means either, but betting is a huge thing in the world today. It's an addiction for some people, but I know it can be fun at the same time. But like I said, it makes a lot of money for a lot of people, and it can be fun for sure. And actually, you can bet small, win big. Bet big, win bigger.
James, let's start. Let's start with just what you're doing now, man. What are you been up to?
First, just been chasing my kids. I have a 3 and a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old boy, 2-year-old daughter, so they keep me pretty busy. Other than that, I called a few games as a play-by-play analyst with Sports USA during the year. I called about 4 games. I do a radio show on Sirius XM, the opening drive every Wednesday morning. So that's been a lot of fun. And I did a podcast with Brian Barrett with Spotify, The Ringer, at the Patriots games this past season. So I dipped into a few things, and I said just waiting for whatever my next opportunity that comes about.
What did you like the best? So by the way, dude, you're like following my script. So shortly after I retired, I did games for Sports USA for a few years, Larry Kahn and the crew. I look back on that fondly. And then I had my own morning show on Sirius XM for years. Now, obviously, I'm in the podcast game. Just curious, out of those that you did so far, which one do you kind of like the best?
It's kind of hard. I like doing the Sirius XM, and I like calling games. I think calling games is really fun because you get to talk about what's going on in the moment during the game and kind of dissect it for yourself and break it down for maybe for people who may not necessarily understand the game as much as someone who actually played it. So it's definitely had a fun experience with both. And I know I've learned that a lot of people dabble into a lot of different things. You don't have to just be into one specific thing. And I think that's what makes it really fun.
All right. So last summer, I guess in August, you retired after 8 years. I think maybe it caught people by surprise a little bit. Just walk me through what happened. Refresh my memory. You had maybe like a hip surgery or something, and then you came to camp. I don't know if you just weren't feeling it or if it didn't really heal. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Just walk me through how it all kind of went down.
Well, the previous season, the 3rd game of the year, I fractured my hip. Didn't really know exactly what that meant at the time. And then speaking with the doctors, it was similar to like an injury that Bo Jackson and like Tua had, things of that nature. So, after the injury happened, I went to Chicago to rehab, to be close by my wife's family so they could help out a little bit with the kids because I was on crutches and couldn't do too much for some time. So, initially after the injury, I didn't know whether I was going to play football again or whether or not I was just going to retire. But after some time, getting some rehab out there, I started to feel a little bit better. And, Bill called me once free agency came about, and I started to get that itch again that I really wanted to go out there and try and play. I wasn't quite there yet. I still had some time to recover. Went out to OTAs, was still doing rehab, and even during training camp was still doing rehab. Was doing a little bit of the on-field stuff, but I just didn't quite feel like myself out there. And I don't want to put myself in a position to necessarily, put myself at a greater risk of injury, which the doctor said it wasn't because the surgery went successfully. But the way I was feeling just didn't quite feel like me. And I don't want to go out there and, people look at me like, dang, that guy needs to sit down. I don't want to be that guy out there on the field. And it'd be hard for me to go out there and think I'm going to be the same player that I was, and I wasn't. I mean, right now I feel obviously much better now after a year of not playing football. My body feels way better than what it was. So I think I made the right decision for me at the time because I don't think I would have been the player that my team needed for me to be that season.
So that's interesting, James, that you say you feel a lot better now that you took the full year off. Is there any part of you that thinks about maybe going back and giving another shot?
I definitely think about it at times. I haven't quite done the rigorous training that it takes for, to get back out there on the football field. So I don't know what that quite feels like because I've, just taken my time to just kind of relax and let my body heal up and things of that nature and do, a little bit of rehab, but nothing rigorous. So if I was to ever do that, I would have to, put my body through that type of, workout and all things of that nature, see if I feel the same way after that, because that's the real test. And of course, your body's gonna feel great when you're sitting on the couch and not doing too much.
So it does feel great though, because that's always a concern I have. That's always something I talk to guys about. I like as many guys as possible to leave the game feeling as healthy as possible. In terms of day-to-day life with your kids, it's not bothering you. You feel like you're pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like I'm good. And like I said, obviously, it's different when you actually play a physical contact sport and, you've just been previously hurt. It brings on a lot of different things compared to when you're just living your regular daily life, just walking around. Obviously, your kids make you put in some weird, awkward positions sometimes as far as how crazy they can get. But it's fun. Like I said, they keep me moving around, get my steps in, get my sweat in, moving around the house with them. So it's been a lot of fun.
How do you feel about playing your entire career with one team, with the New England Patriots?
It was it's kind of an honor, especially in this day and age. Guys are on different teams left and right. It's kind of rare to see people stay on one team for 4 years or so. So it's definitely an honor for a team to still want you to come back after all those years. And I don't want to use the word like loyalty because obviously the team's going to do what's best for themselves and the player wants to do what's best for themselves. So it's just a great feeling to be in one spot your entire career. I know with the Patriots, there's been quite a few guys that have done that, and to be in that category is definitely really cool.
It is an honor. It is really cool because it is rare. I don't know if you can see how well you can see behind me, James, but I played for 5 teams. So I was the anti James White. And I do think there's something special, especially if you're going to live back in the area of being a guy that plays their entire career for one team. But I guess I'm also, I also wonder, aren't you like curious what it's like at other places, especially because I played New England. So I played New England 05, 06. So especially what it's like, not with Bill, not with New England. You ever think, man, I just kind of wonder what it's like somewhere else.
Oh, definitely. Especially if you've been in one place your entire career, you always kind of wonder, what the other side is kind of like. You hear stories of other teams that, may not be exactly similar, but a little bit similar. And you hear kind of the other stories where it's like the complete opposite, where, guys showing up late, guys yelling at coaches, things of that nature. So you got to take the good with the bad wherever you are. You're not going to like any place, 100%. There's going to be some good things, going to be some bad things. You just have to take the good with the bad. Just put your work out there and put your best foot forward. And that's all you can do is go out there and be your best you and compete and just do your job. But as I said, everybody wonders, especially if you've been on one team, what would it be like to be on another team? And I said, I've been to free agency twice, once hurt. So obviously there wasn't going to be many options there. The one time after probably like the worst year of my career. So that wasn't going to be too many options. So for me, there wasn't really too much of an open door of going to another team. It was just pretty much the Patriots for me.
So I didn't realize this till I was doing some research on you, James. So first of all, in 8 years, man, to win 3 Super Bowls, that's just crazy. I mean, that's just nuts. So congratulations. Of course, the one year I was in New England, I always tell the story, James. Brady was 11-0 in the playoffs until they put me in the game. he was 3-0 in 01, 3-0 in 03, 3-0. No. Yeah, 3-0 in 04. And then 05, when I was there, he beat Jacksonville. So I guess he was 10-0 in playoff games till I got there. And then I actually got a little time on special teams against the Broncos, and that's the first game he lost. By the way, that's also the only playoff game I ever played in. The only playoff game I ever played in was also the first one that Brady ever lost. So he was 10-0 before they put me in the game, which is kind of funny. But that's amazing to win 3 Super Bowls like that. You know, I didn't realize you had the record for most receptions and most points in a Super Bowl, and then Jalen Hurts tied it in this most recent Super Bowl. So, okay, first of all, did you know you had the record? I'm sure you did. Secondly, when you're watching this year's Super Bowl, are you like rooting against Jalen Hurts? Like, talk to me about that.
No, never rooting against him. The records are meant to be broken. Somebody's gonna break it eventually, and he was having a really good performance. You know, I was thinking they were going to win the football game, but Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs played a really good second half and came back and won that football game. But I saw people were tweeting me once he tied the record, like, "Oh, your record's about to get broken by Jalen Hurts." But it's fun to watch somebody else have a great performance on that stage, especially a guy like himself. You know, coming to the year, had a lot of doubters, a lot of people question him, and to perform the way he did all year long, to get on that stage in the Super Bowl and perform that way was huge.
It was absolutely unbelievable. And that's an interesting number, by the way, that you guys have tied there. You both scored 20 points in the Super Bowl. It's not easy to do because you have to have 3 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion, right?
Yeah, it's kind of an awkward number, but I say if he would have got that ball in his hands that last drive, who knows? He might have broken it.
How often do people mention to you the Falcons Super Bowl and how well you played in that game and the comeback and all that? Like, I mean, you live back in Massachusetts, so I'm just curious, for a guy like you, how often does that get mentioned to you?
It gets brought up all the time. Pretty much, I wouldn't say every time, but probably like every other time I interact with, a fan or somebody, they always bring up that game. But like I said, it's the biggest game of the year. Everybody's tuning in, watching, and obviously there's a lot of emotions during that game. Good emotions and bad emotions. But we ended up with great emotions at the end of the game. But like I said, it's one of those moments, whether you're playing or watching, it's something that you will never forget. So I don't have a problem with it. Like I said, it's the Super Bowl. Everybody's watching that game, and of course, everybody's going to remember that game first and foremost.
Okay. Does your wife ever get sick of it? Like, if you're at the Stop and Shop or Dunkin' Donuts or wherever you're at up there, and someone says, "James, that Super Bowl, man," is your wife ever? Because it's funny, man. So, like, I'll be at the beach or something, and somebody might recognize me from the media stuff and come up to me and say hi. My wife and my oldest daughter, they're just not that interested in it, like because they're kind of used to it, and they don't want to like engage, so they just kind of move away and they let me do my thing. My younger daughter, James, she comes running over and is like, "Hi, I'm his daughter." It's so funny, man. It's so funny. How does your wife react to it?
She doesn't mind. I guess it's a little bit more awkward if it's just us two and we bump into somebody and somebody's like has a full blown conversation without acknowledging her. I think that's kind of when it gets a little bit awkward, when they just kind of step to us and just kind of leave your wife like to the side and they're just kind of like just standing there. But my wife doesn't care too much. It's probably a little bit more annoying if it happens more often than not. But I would say it doesn't happen that often when we go into public. But it's funny now because my son, like, he has an idea. He's 3. He has an idea that I played football and whatnot. I went to the zoo last year here in Massachusetts, and like somebody like recognized me. They're like James White. So like now my son just like randomly in the house or like James White. Like he like calls me by my first and last name and things of that nature. He thinks it's hilarious, but it's just fun to see how kids kind of interact with that whole interaction.
That is awesome. So your 3-year-old every once in a while will just say, "James White."
It's quite hilarious.
That's amazing. All right. a quick question on the current team. So you played in 21 for, I guess, only 3 games, so you got hurt. Just your thoughts and level of confidence in Mac Jones. I know that's a big topic up there after this past year.
I have all the confidence in the world with him. Obviously, last year he had a little bit of a regression and whatnot. New offensive coordinator, first time offensive coordinator, and he had some ups and downs. But I thought he tried to finish off the year after he came back from injury. Tried to finish, on a higher note. But he's a guy. He's smart. He pushes himself. He works. He puts the work in. And like I said, I was there with him, for that year. Well, the first few games of that year, and then a little bit in training camp and OTAs. And he's a guy who knows how to motivate his team. And I think he has some big things coming for him this year with Bill O'Brien coming back. I don't know. Bill O'Brien probably was there when you were playing. Possibly.
No, he was after me, but I know Bill. Yeah, mine was Josh McDaniels.
Oh, Josh McDaniels, okay.
All right. Josh was the OC. Okay. In fact, James, just to take it all the way back, when they signed me in 2005, Matt Patricia was the assistant offensive line coach.
Hey.
So Scar was the O-line coach. Patricia was, and so Patricia got me up to speed for that next game or whatever. It's kind of funny.
Full circle. But yeah, I think with Bill O'Brien coming back, obviously a very experienced offensive coordinator, has coached in college and in the NFL. I think he's a fired up coach. He doesn't take no stuff, and I think that's what Mac likes. He likes to be coached hard because he holds himself to a high standard. I think this will be a match made in heaven. And I think the offensive line will play better this year. I think they add, see what they do with Jacoby. Hopefully they bring him back. I think they have a lot of talent in that room if they can get the right guys around them. And I think it'll be a big year for the offense.
James, are people talking a lot and fired up about betting becoming legalized there in Massachusetts?
I haven't heard it too much here in Massachusetts just yet, but I know it's a huge thing. Some of my friends they love betting. I always try to persuade them the opposite way, but it's fun. Like I said, it's a way for you for people who don't necessarily watch sports, it's a way for them to interact with the game because they just like betting, and it's a way to watch a game. And you can bet on player performances, you can bet on the spread, you can bet on all different types of things. And I think that's what makes it so fun because it's different types of bettors, and everybody enjoys it in a different type of way. And it's just funny to see, especially with social media being so huge now. You can see everybody's kind of reaction to their parlays and all of that.
Well, listen, I mentioned earlier, I mentioned again, DraftKings Sportsbook launching in Massachusetts on Friday, pending licensure and receipt of regulatory approvals. James, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. Glad to hear that you are feeling better, and don't take any of my gigs. Feel free to take those. Keep doing Sports USA and Sirius XM. Don't come for my gigs, man. Thank you.
I won't come for your gigs, man. You're doing a great job.